my name is Habiba and welcome to another exciting segment of Biba's Canadian journey. I'm super duper excited this week. This week, my family and I were celebrating our anniversary. It's our first year in Canada, our first 365 days. We've experienced all the 4 seasons. We've had our first Christmas, we've had our first Thanksgiving, and Thanksgiving is coming again in a couple of days in October. It has been a fantastic time. Time has gone by really fast. Time really does go fast when you are having fun. And what I'm going to do in this segment is to share some of our experience with you, share some of the things I have learned, that we have learned as a family, that I believe would help newcomers coming to Canada. I believe that after 365 days, I can, share what I've learned. And I hope it helps someone. So let's get started. Before I get into it, just a little disclaimer that this is based on my experience, our experience as a family. This is based on what I have gone through in 365 days. Sorry, not everybody's experience is the same. Everybody's journey is different. So this is based on my personal journey. There's been highs and lows. There's been ups and downs. All in all, it's been an exciting experience, and I want to share that with you. Before I get started, I know that when I finish, someone is going to ask, would any of these experiences have changed our mind or have deterred us from making the move to Canada? So before I even start, let me even just say it. No, not at all. Yes, there has been, with life, change is inevitable, ups and downs, but none of what we've gone through, none of what we've seen, none of what we've experienced would have changed our minds about making this journey. So again, this is based on my experience. This is based on Biba's Canadian journey. The first thing I'm going to talk about, which a lot of people have also asked me to talk about, is the job market here. How it was, getting a job. How it is getting a job as a new immigrant when you first arrive, because that could be challenging. Ultimately, you're coming here as a federal skilled worker. You're coming here to start a new life. You're coming here to work, to get a job. So using my experience again, when we first landed, so I'm going to give my example, use my example, myself as an example. When we first got here, coming here from Nigeria, my occupation was communication specialist, coming here with a master's and a bachelor's from the UK. I thought, what, in a few weeks, I'm going to get, my dream job. So I started applying for jobs, in the communication sector, communications-based roles. And after a couple of weeks, the jobs were not coming. And I thought, what is going on? So what I did was I attended a new immigrants seminar. These are seminars that are available to new immigrants that come in. They're available in all provinces. Sometimes they're set up by the government. So I attended one of those new immigrant settlements seminars, so to say, and I was assigned an employment consultant, and she spoke to me. She saw my CV, and we had a very candid discussion. And she told me, she was like, "Listen, Habiba, you have the qualifications, you have the work experience, but you have to understand that in Canada, employers and recruiters, they know that immigrants are coming with the experience, the technical skills, the hard skills. They know immigrants have that. However, what they are unsure of is the soft skills. She says there's loads of soft skills needed to work in Canada, to fit into the work culture in Canada. Your communication skills, things you say in the office, things you don't say in the work environment, those kind of things. And these are very, very important factors in Canada, and these are things that employers and recruiters are not sure that immigrants have. Okay, so what she told me to do was, she says, when you get back home, start applying for jobs. She says, widen your search. Okay, don't just concentrate on communication jobs. Widen your search. Says widen your search at admin jobs, client relations jobs, jobs that you can, when you see the specifications, you know you can do it. Widen it. She says, get the Canadian work experience. Now, what the Canadian work experience is not you working in having work experience in Canada. No, it's understanding the Canadian work culture, and the only way you can understand that is when you've actually experienced it firsthand. So that is what she told me. Get the Canadian work experience. So right now, just apply for the job. It might not be your dream job. It might not necessarily be a job in communication, but just apply, okay, and get the Canadian work experience. So that's what I did. I went back home and I widened my job search, and the calls started coming in. Prior to this, the calls were not even coming in for interviews. In fact, you know you're making progress when calls are coming in and you're actually getting interviews. Okay, so I widened my search and calls started coming in. And my first job here in Canada was a job with one of the top 5 banks in Canada as a client relations representative. Okay, now prior to this, I'd never worked in the bank, and I made this very clear to the recruiter. But what the recruiter was more concerned about was my communication skills, how I spoke over the phone, and I did a bit of a technical computer-based assessment. Okay, so I started the job, and this was the first time I actually really understood what this employment consultant meant by having the Canadian work experience. The Canadian workspace is very different from back home in Nigeria, very different from when I was in the UK. And I think that if you're coming from anywhere outside North America, you're gonna actually feel the same way because the work culture is different. So I had to learn and unlearn a lot of things to be able to fit into that work culture. So what is actually important in the Canadian workspace is, yes, the technical skills you're bringing from back home, the hard skills are very important, but also the soft skills, extremely important if you want to succeed in the work environment in Canada. A friend of mine told me, someone who's been here for quite a while, that what you do in your first year in Canada, the work-wise, is extremely, very, very important. So I started that job. So when I had worked for some time at this bank and I started applying for other jobs, I actually began to see that the Canadian work experience was, extremely important. For the first time, I started applying for jobs that I actually, wanted. And this time the calls were coming in for the interview. And what was interesting was, for example, if I applied for a communications job, the recruiter or the interviewer will call me and ask me, we'll spend about 10-15 minutes talking about the work experience I had in the bank here in Canada, and then probably just ask a few seconds questions about my role back home. So getting the work experience in Canada was extremely important. And honestly, it might seem, some might say, I didn't get my dream job immediately, but you have to start somewhere, okay? And what I can honestly say, my advice is, come here with an open mind. You also have to, bear in mind that you're coming here not as an expatriate, but as an immigrant. But the system works. The system here works. There's no way that you'll be diligent and hardworking and you won't move up the ladder. Okay, so you come here, you hit the ground running. It might not be the job of your dream, it might not be the position you had back home, but you do what you have to do. And like I said, the system works, so you will see growth as you go along. Okay. The second thing that I learned, or should I say that was different from my home country, was education for my daughter. I have a toddler. We came here when she was about 2.5 years old. Back home in Nigeria, she was in a daycare. And you know how we are now, we immigrants, we like book, we like education, we like akada. And before we came here, I think she could say 1 to 30, like she comes back home and she's counting 1 to 30. She could say her ABCs, A is for this, A is for that. And, I was like, very soon she's going to be doing 1 to 1 million. And we come here, we enroll her in daycare. And the first couple of days she comes home, I'm like, so how was school? She said, school was good. What did you do? We played. I'm like, okay, you know, play is good. You're supposed to play. And, you know, over a week, she's like, play. So I was getting a bit, I was like, no ABCs, no 1, 2, 3. So I went to the daycare to speak to one of the teachers just to have a conversation. Like, so what do they do here? Do they learn, you know, 1 to 20 or 1 to 30? And I was, you know, so quick to say in Nigeria, my daughter could say 1 to 30 and 1. And the teacher just burst out laughing. She's like, no, what they do here, they do a lot of play, they do a lot of outdoor, they're building social skills, communication skills. And she's like, what is she doing with 1 to 30 right now? And I'm like, you know, it's good for them. She smiled. She said, it's not yet time. And at first I was worried. I thought, oh my goodness, I hope my child is not going to be regressing, you know. But then I noticed that what they were lacking in, should I say, the academic aspect, they have in other aspects. So I was seeing a little difference at home. For instance, in a couple of weeks after she started daycare, I'm taking her to the bathroom and she's like, Mom, no, I can do it myself. Please stay outside. When I finish, I'll call you to come in. I'm like, what? Or she wanted to wash her hands herself or start feeding her. I'm like, okay. So where they were lacking, you know, maybe they're not concentrating too much on the academic, but, you know, the social skills, communication skills, all those, again, soft skills, you can say, were, you know, adding up. And then my mind began to, you know, just be at rest because Canada is one of the most educated countries in the world. So for me, I'm like, okay, it's gonna add up in the end. Maybe right now it's a good thing for them to just concentrate on play and other things, and you know, in the next couple of years it will add up, since the country is the most educated country in the world. So with that, I was a bit relaxed. I've also heard a few parents who have older kids say the same thing, you know, their kids coming from other countries, starting up. In the beginning, the academics, you know, were a bit slower than back home, but it adds up in the end. It adds up in the end, and they get all the skills as well along the line. So my worry turned into no worry at all. You know, at first I was very concerned, but after that I just relaxed. So that was something that, you know, if you're coming and you have young kids, that's something you might also want to bear in mind. Another thing that was an eye-opener and was a rude shock, or a huge shock for us, was taxes. Taxes in Canada is big, except if you're coming from North America, from the States, then, you know, you're used to that. But here it's a totally different ball game. What you see on a price tag is not the same thing as, you know, point of sale, what you pay, you know, at the point of sale. And someone might be thinking, but I've read this. So it's not, you read it, you know, you hear people talk about it and you try and prepare your mind for it, but till you actually go to the store and experience it, it's something extremely different. Here in Canada, there's 2 types of taxes. There's a federal tax, that's 5% compulsory, you have to pay it, GST, 5%. Some provinces have their own added tax, and when you add whatever the province have to the GST, it becomes harmonized sales tax, so that's HST. So just because you see a label on a pair of shoes that says $100 does not mean that when you go to the till you're gonna pay $100, depending on the province that you're in. Some provinces, their sales tax is as low as 5%. Other province is up to 15%. So it really varies. It really varies. However, the good thing is that there's no tax on groceries, simple groceries like bread, milk, or eggs. Those are tax free. So also educational, you know, like fees, tuition fees, there's no tax, or medical fees, no tax. But you have to, it's a real, it's something that can, you know, catch you by surprise if you're not careful. And because it varies from province to province, it can be a bit confusing. Let me give you an example. A friend of mine, she has 3 young kids, and she was, this was during COVID. So to keep the kids entertained. She was going to buy tabs for them. Okay, so she had called. It was an online computer store. She had called to buy the tablets, and when she finished, when they gave her the total, I think the total was about 900 Canadian dollars for the three of them, and she was quite she was quite happy with the price. So she was like, okay, she will make the payment over the phone. So they took the details, and then they asked her for her postcode so they could send over the tabs to her. And by the time she had keyed in her postcode, the price had increased by over $150. And she was like, what happened? And so they had to explain that they're in a different province where the tax is 5%, and she's in a different, they're shipping it to a different province where the tax is 15%. So the sales tax is the province that the item is bought or the item is going to, so to say. So that was a bit of an eye-opener. I know a lot of people that when they're buying large things like furniture and stuff, they go to a different province to buy it and bring it over to their province. So that's something to also keep an eye out for. Another thing that we found that is different, and we had to quickly change our mindset about, is banking in Canada is different. But luckily, as I said, my first job was in the bank, so I learned a lot of things about banking in Canada. Banking here is totally different. For instance, back home, if I wanted to send money to anybody, any bank, if I had a Zenith Bank and I wanted to send it to anybody I wanted to send money to anybody in GT or Access Bank, I could just do it on my phone, or it was so easy. But here it's quite different. So if you want to send money to someone, you send it. The easiest way to send it and cheapest is what they call interact transfer, so email transfer. So you need the person's email address. So it was like sending money via email. The first time I heard about it during my training in the bank, I was like, what? So you can do, if I want to pay money into another person's bank, it's just cheaper, easier to ask the person for their email address. It's called e-transfer, and that was totally different. You pay here in Canada, you actually pay for your bank account. You pay monthly for your bank account services. It was something we had to wrap our heads around, because I'm thinking, I'm already banking with you, why do I need to pay? But there's a banking fee, there's a monthly banking fee, and the fees vary depending on the kind of account you have. There's over, each bank has their own different fees for current accounts. There's over 5. The bank we use right now, there's over 5 current accounts for that particular bank, and I believe other banks have the same. They just offer different services, but banking is not free. The good thing is, as immigrants, most banks have a 12-month immigrant package. So the package could be free banking, free your account, whatever account you have, current account you have, for a year could be free. They do that for immigrants and students to kind of get you to use the services of that bank. But after that, you start paying monthly, anything from $4.99 to as much as $50-$60 per month. So that is extremely important, just to put at the back of your mind. So that has been it in a nutshell. Just a few things that we've learned since coming, a few things that have been different from back home, and I really hope that some of these things would help you when you come here. Like I said, it's not to scare you, it's not to put fear in you, but it's just to give you an idea of what to expect when you come here. And my recommendation, my advice when coming, is come here with a very open mind. Also come here knowing that the system here works. The system works. So in regards to finding a job, looking for a job, starting your career, yes, you might start at probably not where you were back in your home country, but with a lot of work, you hit the ground running with dedication. There's no way you will not be noticed in the work environment. So this is not to put fear In regards to education, Canada has the best education system in the world. So if you're a parent like me that is concerned about your child's academic growth, no need for worry. Everything is in place here. And like I said, this is our anniversary. I'm gonna share some pictures with you. It has been a really exciting time. Very grateful. We've learned a lot. We've met a lot of new people, good people along the way, and our orientation is, it's changing. We're getting the Canadian vibe. And yes, until next time, please do not forget to subscribe to Biba's Canadian Journey if this is your first time, and do press the bell icon. And you can always go back and watch my previous videos where I talk about other things Canada related. Until next time, do have a good day.